This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We begin the Sefer Devorah. Just to get a little background about the Sefer. First of all, we want to thank Moshe Klein for sponsoring the Sefarim. Lili Nishmas' grandmother, Sarah Bas Mordechai Halevi, who was her Shiva just concluded today, I believe. So her Neshama Shavna Aliyah, she should be a Melitza Yeshara for her whole family. Ad Bias Goel Tzedek. The Sefer Devorah is actually quite an apropos Sefer to learn under the current matzav and the current situation, and that is because if you open up the Sefer, if we turn to page Daled, just for starters, we have this little box over here that on the bottom of the box it says Mekubal mehagoyin hakadosh haDivrei Chaim mitzanz. We have a tradition from the Sanzarav, from the Divrei Chaim, that anybody who learns the Sefer Einoi nifka mimachla hayadua rachmana litzlan will not be afflicted and will not be harmed from the well-known machla. So it's usually understood to be referring to lo yaleinu, to cancer, but in the times of the Divrei Chaim, this disease was not known, so he was not referring to this disease. But I once heard from Rav Olbaum Shlita that he heard from Rav Moshe Halberstam, who heard from the Satmar Rebbe, that when the Divrei Chaim gives a havtacha that somebody who learns the Sefer will not be afflicted by this machla, so it does refer to the machla that, of course, is known as cancer, but it could be applied to any machla, even the machla that we're dealing with right now. In other words, there is some kind of special havtacha, some kind of special skula that somebody who learns the Sefer is protected from machalos. So I just want to mention, just by way of hakdama, that this Sefer was published for the very first time.
Listening to a shiur.
Yeah, if everyone could kindly mute.
I don't hear you.
If the first time the Sefer was published was in the year 1588. It was published in Venice by somebody by the name of Moshe Besula, Beis Samach Vav Lamed Hey. And what's interesting is that is the author, the Ramak, Rav Moshe Cordovero, which we'll talk about soon. Rav Moshe Cordovero was he passed away, and he left manuscripts with his almana, and these manuscripts sort of lay dormant. Nobody knew about them. Nobody knew where they were, and they were actually discovered, and they were sent to this Rav Moshe Besula to publish. Actually, the one who got a hold of these manuscripts was none other than the Rama Mipano. The Rama Mipano considered himself. Okay, I'm going to just try to mute everyone. How do I do that? Okay, sorry, if I could just kindly ask everyone to mute themselves. Thank you. Rav Moshe Besula got a hold of these manuscripts from none other than the Rama Mipano. The Rama Mipano, interestingly, the Rama Mipano paid to get access to the writings of the Ramak. You see, the Ramak passed away, and he left an almana. And as recorded in the Chidah, you see, one of the well-known Sfarim that the Ramak wrote was something called Or Yakar. Or Yakar is a parish on the Zohar. And the Rama Mipano loved so much the writings of the Ramak that he sent money. The Rama Mipano lived in Italy. He sent 1,000 gold coins, and this is recorded by the Chidah. He sent 1,000. I have actually the lashon over here in the Shem Hagadolim. The Chidah writes in his entry to the Sefer Or Yakar. Chidah writes in Mareches Aleph Ois Nun Zayin that he says Reb Shlomo Shlomiel wrote, who is a well-known Makobel, the author of Matrif L'Chachma, that the Rama Mipano sent 1,000 gold coins to the almana of the Ramak, so that she should give him access to the Sefer Or Yakar of the Ramak. And besides the 1,000 gold coins that the Rama Mipano had to pay the almana of the Ramak, she also sent 20 gold coins to Rabbi Yosef Karoi, 20 gold coins to Reb Shlomo Shlomiel, 10 gold coins to the Alshich. I guess the Alshich took a bargain. The Alshich didn't charge as much in order to secure the writings of Rav Moshe Cordovero. Now, you hear the name Cordovero, and you're immediately you see that this family came from Spain. There's actually a question where the Ramak was born. Was he born in Cordova? Or maybe his family was born in Cordova and he came over later. But in any event, it's a Spanish family who came to Tzfas, and the Ramak was a student of none other than the Beis Yosef himself. The Ramak was a student of the Mechaber, of the Shulchan Aruch. The Ramak learned Nigla from the Beis Yosef. In fact, in the Shalsut Tshuvas Avkas Roichel and Siman Tzadi Aleph, there's a tshuva that the Beis Yosef publishes from the Ramak. And the Beis Yosef writes that once the Ramak has issued his opinion about this matter, it is not necessary for me to offer my opinion. He says, Hai din daina nachis la'umka dedina. In other words, the Ramak was not only great in Kabbalah, but he was great in the revealed Torah, a student of the Beis Yosef, and at age 20, he began to learn Kabbalah. He began to learn Kabbalah from his brother-in-law. Who's his brother-in-law? None other than Rav Shlomo Alkabetz. He was the brother-in-law of Rav Shlomo Alkabetz, and ultimately he became the Rebbe of the Arizal. So in other words, when the Arizal came to Tzfas, the Arizal learned Kabbalah from the Ramak. Be'ezus Hashem, in further Shiurim, we'll learn some more of the history of the Ramak and the history of the Sefer. But let's, for starters, begin reading a few lines of the Sefer. Now, the name of the Sefer is Tomer Devorah, and what's interesting is, it actually comes from a much larger Sefer called Elima Rabasi, which consists of 70 Timarim. And Tomer Devorah is one of the 70 Timarim of the Tomer of the Tomer Devorah is one of the 70 Timarim of the Elima Rabasi. And I'll mention, and we'll see it again tomorrow, that the Shla Kadosh wrote again, if I could ask anyone to mute, the Shla Kadosh wrote a haskama to the Sefer Tomer Devorah, where the Shla Kadosh writes that anybody who learns this Sefer either weekly or monthly, says the Shla Ahavtacha Muftach Loi Shehu Ben Olam Haba. So let's begin by reading the first couple lines. Says the Tomer Devorah, Ha'adam Ra'oi Sheyedame L'Koinoi. A person, it is fitting for him to be comparable, to be similar to his Creator. V'az yeh b'soid hatzur ha'yana. Then he will attain the secret of his upper image, tselem udemos, image and form. So the Tomer Devorah is saying, an interesting diuk that the Balei Moser point out is, the Tomer Devorah is not saying that one is obligated to be similar to his Creator, but he's saying even more fundamental and more basic. Not only is he obligated, it is proper. The reason why it is proper is because it would be dishonest advertisement if a person had only the physical similarity to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but did not act that way. Says the Tomer Devorah, She'ilu Yedume Begufai. If a person merely looked like HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we have to explain what that means. What does it mean that we look like Hashem? But clearly the Ramak is saying that even in a physical sense, our bodies are created physically in the likeness of God. If we would be merely similar in our bodies, V'loi ba'pu'ulos, but not in our actions, Harehu machziv hatsura, we would be falsifying the way we look. V'yoimru alav, and they would say about us, tsura na'eh, a beautiful picture, umasim ku'urem, but disgusting actions. So in other words, the Tomer Devorah is saying not that we're obligated to act like God. That is certainly true. But the point is, it is correct, it is fitting, it is inherently proper. Because since we have a certain uniform, our body was created in the image of Hashem, our physical characteristics resemble Hashem. If we merely resemble Hashem physically, but we don't act like the actions of the Creator, then we're giving a dishonest appearance. And therefore, for the sake of integrity to the physical features with which we were created, it is proper that we emulate the ways of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So, as a way of introduction, if we would have to give this Sefer a name, the name we would give would be V'halachta b'drachav, to follow in the ways of our Creator. Since we physically look like the Ribbon Shalom, it is proper that we emulate His actions, and therefore we need to study what in fact are the actions of the Creator, and how do we go by emulating them. Okay, Be'ezus Hashem, see you tomorrow, same time. Wishing everyone a wonderful day, bracha v'hatzlacha, and stay safe. Thank you so much. Kol tov.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.